Hi, this is Peter Friedrich, and today we're speaking with Dr. Mansoor Keen about the Kashmir issue. Dr. Keen, I want to welcome you here, and I want to thank you for offering your time and for your willingness to express your opinions and your feelings about what is happening in Kashmir right now. So you're from Kashmir, aren't you?
Yes, I'm born and brought up in Kashmir. Uh, I've done all my schooling and medical schooling in Kashmir. Even I think I was in the peak of teen when it started struggle of what we call it, that struggle of freedom to give us our right of self-determination. I think it was a time when I was in my early school years, and that's when we realized about the importance of where we stand in the national and international part community. Uh, so that was the main thing. I mean, and before that, in our childhood, when I had grown up in a normal atmosphere with all the parts of we have never had any religion entity or anything like that in our community. I have many of the Hindu friends who are still my friends, even after they have been out of the state. But we have grown up in a culture while there was a religion, there was no religion-based things. It was all a pure culture, Kashmiri culture. We used to cherish each other's religion, each other's festivals. We used to visit each other on those occasions. We used to celebrate together. My friend, he was a Hindu, he has celebrated with me Eid for his good 10 years, and so have I. So that was the love and culture I have grown up in Kashmir. Being as so I'm not used to anything like which sound anything related to religion or anything. It was never an issue. But then things, uh, uh, well, not imminently when I was there, but then after that, the things was politicized, to be honest, in a way that people were tried to shadow in different directions. I did my schooling, but unfortunately, when I was in medical school, which should have taken me 4.5 years, it took us 11 years because the turmoil starts at that time, unfortunately. And then I have to leave the valley because it was a really difficult time. I lost 6 to 7 years in a medical school, which I might have completed my post graduation and other things.
Which time period was that?
That was around 2000s, and yeah, that was a bad time, to be honest. Our exams were postponed by 3 months, 4 months. Our college was closed at some point for a few months as well. And at one point, we thought that we're not going to make it. They might close it forever. And then eventually stabilized for a couple of years, and then we finished our degree, and then I just wiped off from there. I said, I will just work in a different atmosphere at least, because they were because of the loss of the time and the atmosphere around you. It was quite scary. I mean, to work that way. And then there was this right of self-determination movement started, which was led by gun and everything. So it was in the peak time when I was in my medical schools. Yeah.
So this was in the early 2000s that this was happening, and this was interfering with your studies as this conflict was ongoing.
Yeah.
And this conflict, of course, has been ongoing for 30 years since the insurgency began in 1989, and
yes,
really for 70 years and longer, since 47, and even before that, 1931, with this rebellion that broke out against the Dogra rule in Jammu and Kashmir, before it even became acceded to India. So with this decades of conflict that have been happening in this region, can you tell me, sir, what is it that is new that's happening in the present that is prompting you to feel like you need to raise your voice?
I think we have always raised a voice. It's just, it has not been noticed in a way. I mean, our voice has been verbally We have been demonstrations. We have been writing in the papers. We have been raising issues or giving memorandums to United Nations. We have a United Nation we used to have. I still remember when in 1989, when there were those peaceful demonstrations around, we used to give memorandums to them. It was all peaceful at that time, demonstration. But that was a point still wherein you were able to speak a bit, if not fully, but there was still some preserved freedom of speech, freedom of action. I mean, you can talk about if somebody is wrong in politics, even if he's at a higher level, you can talk about it. But that's how a democracy is. I mean, the country I'm living, even if a prime minister doesn't do anything which I think is right, I'll tweet to him. I'll not be put behind bars. I mean, that's called democracy. Now the things have changed. Even if you say, if they say sun arises from west and you said, no, that's not possible, they'll say, no, you're anti-national. It has been said by the top leaders, so you have to believe that. And if you say anything against that, you're anti-national. I'm not talking about Kashmiris as a whole. If you look at the Indian picture now, even their own ones who are not from Kashmir, so we are labeled as anti-national, even though I don't know why they say we are an integral part of them if they think we are anti-national, which as per the international memorandum agreements, we still is a dispute. It is an occupational land. It's an occupational territory. Whether they claim it as a national or their own entity, that's different. I mean, it's called like might is right. Nowadays, since the new government has come in, it wasn't blessing before, but this has been a total drastic change. It's like a draconian thing. They are challenging everyone who tries to speak out. They are taking journalists in action, open mobs who lynch people. They are being just released. The rapists are from the MPs and they are being given open. They are still continuing their own tenure. It's a shame, to be honest. It's no way democracy is a government of the people, by the people, for the people. But I think they have said their democracy is for the government, by the government, and of the government, whoever is ruling. So I don't think there's anything related to democracy. Unfortunately, it's a shame, such a big country claiming to be democracy. But you can see they have occupied now 7 million people and caged them from the basic right. And they're not able to speak. I mean, for any reason, they've scrapped the article if they are confident that they have done the right move. If they are confident that Kashmiris are part of them, they can't engage us. That means something is wrong. What they are telling is different, and what's actual on ground reality is different. You can't engage people. If I think this guy is favoring my views or thoughts or betterment, I'll definitely give him a chance to speak. I'll not suppress him. I'll not take his basic rights of freedom to speech, freedom to act. And before that, I mean, I think as a Kashmiri, I still can't forget the pains and the other things that I have gone through, the trauma. I've seen many friends who have lost life for no reason.
So, Mansoor, can I ask you, when did you grow up? Which era? The 90s, the 80s?
Yeah, I mean, 80s, I was teens, yeah.
Okay. So I would love to hear something about that, about your experience growing up in Kashmir. And I would also be very interested to hear what your perspective is on living in Europe versus living in Kashmir, and the differential in lifestyle that you perceive and the differential in the way that the environment is.
Well, I have grown in, I talk about it to my kids when I was in teen. I tell them because they have not seen any of this life, what I have seen as a kid. I have enjoyed when I was in my, I mean, it was from up till 10th class. I was in 10th standard. It was a bliss of a life. I mean, we're enjoying our thing, our freedom. We used to do whatever we want to do as a kid. That's the basic right. And since then, this came in. I mean, it was restricted because restricted of movement. It's embarked. Uh, After every 100 meters, there's a banker, and they used to trouble you genuinely and sometime all the time, and not genuinely for no reason. Uh, so eventually, it became like engaged in a system. Even though there was militancy, insurgency at some point, which was peaked, there was a reason of getting a military, but then after that, that bit of died in a way. But we never found any change from the government. I mean, that was how I grew up. I grew up in a normal environment until this kicked in and the struggle. And after that, things changed. I have never seen any normalcy in the state. It has been, our kids have never seen. I mean, my cousins or those who have grown in that era, they don't know what normal life is. They don't know what nightlife is. Their life finished at 8, 7. You can't go out. You can't move during the night. So this is the life we have seen since last 30 years now. And this is the life our kids have seen. And they have grown in this atmosphere. So now if you ask me to compare where I live now and compare it with Kashmir and India, there's no comparison. I mean, I live in dark age when I go home. And here, even though I am still not a citizen of this country, I still have some time left, but I am being treated as a citizen. I have everything what every British citizen has. I have access to health care as I should. I can raise a voice if I had any problem. I have never heard any verbal abuse in the last 4 years. I've never heard any people just telling me different things which are not there. There is honesty. You don't have to bother about anybody will lie about anything. And there is no thing that anybody will try to trick you, although there's so many of things going on in the whole world. You can't. But I'm saying that this is a setup. I don't think India will achieve in another 1,000 years. The way we are going there, I'm sorry to say, it is not possible for me to think that they will achieve such an environment in another 1,000 years.
So let me ask you, sir, with this recent scrapping of Articles 370 and 35A, and with the downgrading of Jammu and Kashmir from a state to a union territory, which will now be directly ruled by Delhi, you were just speaking of democracy as being something that is of, for, and by the people. With these recent actions in Jammu and Kashmir, do you believe that the voices of Kashmiris were heard in moving towards this process and in turning towards these actions?
Well, it's not a difficult question because everybody knows, even they have not tried to take consent from their own opposition parties, which they said because of the majority they have done in that. But basically, it's illegal. What they have done is illegal because it involves Article 370. It definitely needs an assembly from the state assembly. It should be amended from there, and then it can be discussed in the Constitution. In the Supreme Court, if it's a liable court of law, which is difficult to say in India, how it proved, because it's all politicized, even the courts. So if it's a normal court, I say, like in Europe, if it's a normal court, it will not stand for 10 minutes, this thing, because it needs a state assembly to approve it. There is no state assembly when it was done. Nobody was taken in consultation. Even the governor, who is from the ruling party, who is at present the ruling J&K, he was not having a clue, or he was having a clue, but he was not able to speak until it was scrapped. And then they said, with a ratio of 1 army man to 10, so for 7 million, there is almost 1 million there of the army, and they got another 30, 40,000. For what? What were they going to do? Are they trying to do a genocide? Are they trying? I mean, that's how it looks like. They have taken out everything. And this Article 370, I don't know how far it basic understanding has, but Kashmiris have it. It's like a cultural identity. It was that you have your own flag, you have your own things to do, your own assembly where you can, and your parts of the land, nobody else. There was some sort of a decency agreement, which was a temporary. It was never a permanent solution. It was a temporary agreement to keep, which was done with Sheikh Abdullah, one of the chief ministers, impacts with India. But it was just for a time frame until we decide what we want to do, which never happened. But at the moment, I think this is just a reason for trying to gain a permanent vote bank. They have sectorized this. BJP has just communalized, sectorized. They're trying to make it conflictual. And it's not hard to believe because 40-50% of the Indian population are illiterate. And they do go with these things wherever their leaders try to persuade them. They follow that thing. And the Modi-led government have made them believe that they are going to take the whole country into a one nation, Hindu nation. That's a religious flavor he has given to this, although he's not himself religious, to be honest. But yeah.
So this is something that I've been hearing from a lot of Kashmiris that I've been speaking with, is that there is, of course, this rationale provided by the Modi-led central government, which is that these actions in Jammu and Kashmir were done in the name of development, in order to bring development to the state, or now Union Territory, and that these articles were a hindrance to this goal of development. However, many of the Kashmiris that I've been speaking with, they are raising this idea that they think that the real motive behind it is linked to a goal of turning India into a Hindu Rashtra or a Hindu nation. Now, is that what you would put forward as the motive behind this?
I think it looks like, because even now, today, as I was reading, there were many people from their own opposition government who tried to speak in Kashmir, and they were imprisoned. All the political parties who have staked their lives, although we have never been favorable for them. I have never voted in my life in Kashmir. I have never voted because there was no one to vote around, and it was not what we were trying to. I was not believing in anybody's policy, so why should I vote? And that's, I think, 90% of the Kashmiris think about the same, because nobody has actually worked for us ever. Everybody has used us, abused us, and abused from our resources, abused for our basic rights of education, basic rights of freedom, and what we deserve. It's engulfed in corruption, and now that they have given this religious flavor to it, wherein this is a quite dangerous sign. But I think 370, even they amended. I don't know who is going to invest in a state which is the highest militarized zone in the whole valley. And when I, as a Kashmiri, don't feel investing in my own land, and who will invest in my land? I mean, if I think I will invest in my thing, we don't invest because we know tomorrow there will be things that my investment is going to be locked down for 5 months. How am I going to survive if I make a big investment? So my plan was to open a small hospital in my state, because where people struggle, I don't think there's any rheumatologist in my part. So if I try to do that, but how can I do that? Because I know the system is corrupt. You can't do anything. This scraping up Article 370 is just an excuse to make their things a permanent vote bank agenda, trying to make people of India believe that they are trying to do all for the nation, which actually is not a fact. And if there would have been a development, I don't think there is still a constitution they can put a land for lease for 99 years. That provision is still there. There has been some developments when there has been a 5-star hotel. Who has put that? He's not in Kashmiri. There has been some other developments in certain projects. When they have to do it, they can do it. When it was one of the Mehbooba Mufti's father, when in his era, it was a quietest period. Although it was not everything was right, but he managed to build some roads, do some things, If you want to do, you can do it. These are just excuses. I think this is a big excuse for them to do, but I think this is the biggest mistake for BJP, what they have done, because this is a quite sentimental, emotional, and if they are suppressing it, they can't suppress it. It's like a dormant volcano. It needs just a trigger. Even if they suppress it for a few months, trust me, when there is a trigger point, it will blast like anything, and people will come like anything. That I watch in my state. I know my people. We are very strong-headed. We don't give up.
So how do you think that the broader Indian population in mainland India perceives the Kashmir issue? Do you think that they have a sympathetic ear to it, that any of them do? Do you think that many of them understand any of the history or the legal basis behind what's going on in Kashmir?
From the Indian perspective?
Yes, sir.
Well, there are only a handful, and less than 5%. That's a higher number, high stake I'm speaking about. But even though if you have people who try to speak, they are abused, tortured, threatened in a way on social media openly, and never has been any action, nor it will be. We know that. So even if there is a support from some, but overall, I think people are ignorant, and they don't want to listen that it doesn't belong to them, or it doesn't belong to anyone. It's the decision of the people that needs to be considered. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear the truth. They just want to follow what they are being told.
So as we see the ongoing blackout in Kashmir, and we see, as we've just discussed, that in the mainland India, the broader Indian population, those who do raise some voices of dissent or disagreement, they also face their voices being stifled, being muzzled. What do you think that the international community can do or should do in relation to this issue?
To be honest, if international community wants to do it, it can be done in 24 hours. I'm not joking, but that's how it can be. But it's not that simple. The international policies, lobbyism, financial dependence, or country favoritism. So it has always been like that. Otherwise, I'm sure if it's heard at the right place, right time, it will resolve in 24 hours. And that's not an overstatement. I believe if it can be done.
So just on a personal note then, sir, this blockade in Kashmir, the communications blackout, how is this impacting you personally?
Well, first of all, I don't know how my parents are. I've tried very hard, and then I got from an independent source. And one of my cousins traveled 200 miles away from Kashmir, from this sea, just to speak to me that everything is all right. That's the thing in Kashmir. And there was one who was fortunately one of the police officers who called for my number so that I can know about my parents. Although I didn't speak to any of my dad nor my mom, who normally we talk many times, and especially over the weekends we do video calling because they want to see the kids, and kids want to talk to them, and They just have that feeling. They must be really very heavy. So do we. That's how it is. It's quite disturbing, and it feels like somebody has encaged our whole stage, and in the name of democracy. And it's painful to see all the Twitter and other things. 90% of the population on Twitter. I don't know everybody is on Twitter, but those who are, I think they are all propagandists, paid propagandists, who just spread violence, hatred, abuses. So it's really disappointing. There are some people like you, other people like you, which I appreciate, and it will always be. I think it's the help of people like you or many others who try to raise the actual figure what it is, which even the government of India doesn't think is necessary. I mean, they are sabotaging the voices of their own people who they think are indetachable, but we were never theirs. So they claim that we are the head of integral part of them, but we have actually never been an integral part of them. They have never accepted us. They can never prove that they have accepted us. In what way? What have they done for our state? What have they done for the people of Kashmir? What have they done? They've not done anything. Have they developed the Kashmir? It's still 30 years what it was. It is still the same. What have they done for the unemployed youth? So if they claim it is their property or it is whatever the agreement, then you need to accept it, and you have to win the heart of the people. Maybe people will think we will stay with India, but they have never done like that. I am sure 90% of the people will not say India anymore. Even if 20% were saying they will not say India anymore. I don't think so.
Well then, sir, as we draw to a conclusion in our conversation, I would like to ask you, what do you think is the primary thing preventing India from winning the hearts of the Kashmiri people?
It's all politics. It's all politics. They want to keep their vote bank alive. They want to keep their Hindutva policies alive. They just want to make people believe that Kashmiri are anti-nationals, the neighbors are anti-national, even if they do whatever they are doing. And there has been some spectacle evidence that even the Pulwama attack might have been done from the own government. So there's been hard evidence about that as well. But it's all, they are befooling the people. They're making a mockery out of democracy. And now the things are scary, really. I mean, it's scary to visit this country. Why didn't even your own people are threatened, even for a voice? And I don't know how they label it as democracy. I can't understand this type of democracy, and I have never read or heard about it. And if I compare to this country, I feel shameful that I'm from that part, and I don't want to label it to that country, to be honest, because the way they have treated us, it's miserable. And you can't treat people like that, and you can't win people's heart like that. Yeah.
How do you feel about the future of Kashmir? What do you think the future might look like? What do you hope the future will look like?
Looking the things, it looks very dreadful at the moment, but we're hopeful things might settle down, but I don't think we want that. We want there to be a solution. We don't want to suffer anymore. We live in peace, but that's not a solution. That's not the way our kids grow up. Not I would like to grow up. I want to go back to Kashmir. I love it. But there's nothing there. It's nothing. They made it the end of the world. You can't go there. a normal life. I have all of my fare. It will take me a month or so if I go there to visit all of my friends. I still am in touch with them.
Mm.
Everyone wants me to come back. I want to go back, but what will I do there? It's scary to go there. So I can't see any future now until it's been highlighted at an international level, but I think we have to fight our rights still. Nobody will fight for us. We have to fight. But with the help of international things, international support, we might get it, what we deserve. We want something that we don't deserve, but what we deserve at least normal democratic stat. People which they have been waiting for ages. What they want, if they are so confident about their democratic policy, why don't they do it? Why don't they do a plebiscite? They will come to know if Modi is so confident we are doing so much for the Kashmiris. Let Kashmiris decide what they think about him, what he has done. It's just a political game. But at the moment, it's a painful insight what I can see. But I hope everything is all right. I don't want people. We have seen 70,000, 80,000 people dying in these years. And 90% of them were not militants. They were not dying, they didn't die in encounters. They were killed in encounters, they were in grenade attacks and then retaliation. The army used to burn the houses, they used to kill people around. It's a massacre, always. I think that India is the number one human right abuses. So many cases are with the human rights that it will be the top list of the countries we have with pending human rights abuses. And I don't think there was one from the United States who tried to visit the country. He was denied a visa recently. So you can see the plight, what they want to do.
Well, Dr. Mansoor Keen, I appreciate you offering your opinions and your perspective on the issue in Kashmir, both in the past and in the present. And I stand with you in hoping for a bright future for this region and looking for the best and for democracy to once again prevail.